full-scale panic after Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released a provocative document from Jeffrey Epstein's 2003 birthday book, provided to them by the Epstein estate after a subpoena. And now, well, after Donald Trump had previously insisted it did not exist, he's confronted with the real thing, with his dismissive claim of it all being a hoax, which again is ironic considering Mike Johnson threw him in hot water, suggesting he was an FBI informant.
And he's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who've suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
Why would he be an informant over a hoax? But anyway, it's all colliding with a hard dose of reality.
Yeah. Do you think that drawing, I think I heard you say something the other day, that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
You think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for a charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women.
One thing about this is, I presume someone who is expert can look at signatures and make these judgments. But secondly, it's a weird thing. What year was this?
That's a great question. It was like about 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So 20 years ago, someone stuck this fraudulent piece in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book. That seems like a weird thing. Someone who said, you know what, I think Donald Trump might be president someday. Let's just stick this in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book.
The House Oversight Committee released a letter purportedly from Donald Trump to Epstein, complete with a crude illustration and the message, quote, "Happy birthday, may every day be another wonderful secret." So weird, so creepy, but Trump denied ever authoring it, denied the language, and even denied drawing or liking to draw, despite the fact that he sold doodles at auctions. But anyway, and as we know, he sued the Wall Street Journal for defamation over their reporting on this matter. And well, now Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal has said, all right, bet. And in a battle of the racist billionaires, they just went ahead and published the actual images of the letter, effectively saying F you to Trump's defense.
There's a couple things going on here.
And as we know, he sued the Wall Street Journal for defamation over their reporting on this matter. And well, now Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal has said, all right, bet. And in a battle of the racist billionaires, they just went ahead and published the actual images of the letter, effectively saying F you to Trump's defense.
There's a couple things going on here. Many people look at this and go, on its face, it looks like it was handled at least incompetently, if not corruptly, from day one, regardless of leadership. And they want answers because there are real victims who we will probably never know much about because they signed NDAs and because very powerful people were involved. And also, there was an easy answer for the Trump administration here, which was Ghislaine Maxwell is appealing. We cannot release anything while that is ongoing. Right? I think that would have been the clean answer. Now they're in this situation where a bunch of people are deeply invested in this particular story, which there may be plenty more too, as a decoder ring for all that is corrupt in government. And if they don't get answers on that, they'll be very mad. Here's the other thing though. There's a large portion of that portion of the base that will listen to Trump when he gives them an answer on this. And the question is, how politically salient is that?
And now with the letter public complete with Trump's familiar stylized signature, the most staunch of MAGA supporters, the ones that haven't yet fled the coup, they're denying its legitimacy regarding the signature on the letter, only to have those claims debunked as the labeled Donald matches countless authenticated Trump handwritings sold at auctions and letters sent around that time.
On this one in particular, it is true that it's not known that Donald Trump was bawdy, but there is this mythos that Will could talk about for sure on some on the MAGA right and the QAnon right, that Trump was like fighting against the elite pedophile rings out there, and that he was, some warrior on the inside who was going to expose all these people. And now here he is, not only not exposing them all, but writing this note to Epstein here that is just extremely familiar, right? Like the it's one thing. It's sure it is true that famous people sometimes sign birthday cards for people or sign generic notes for people. That is not what we're seeing here. I mean, we have this drawing of what appears to be a young woman, I would say, and Donald Trump talking about how they share certain things in common, about how they have all these wonderful secrets together. I mean, it's a letter from two guys that get in trouble together and have a bromance. That's what this is. It's not some generic letter. And so I think that's why they probably are more sensitive about it, because it's not as if it's just two famous people getting their picture together at another famous person's party.
Yeah,
it's more intimate.
I hear you on that. But
speaking of MAGA propagandists, right? Caroline Levitt dismissed the letter as fake and Democrat propaganda. My God, hilarious. She is talking about propaganda, folks. Now, she said Trump never wrote it and blasted the release as a smear attempt. In short, the signature looks like his. The words are there in print, but the official line is still deny, deny, deny.
That's insane that they're just being like, yeah, no, everything was cool, above board, don't worry.
It's like Trump dog.
Yeah.
It's tough not to fucking point some fingers.
Huge question.
You got
mark.
killed while you were president.
Yeah.
And you were there. There's so many photos of them chilling.
Allegedly hung with his staff.
I know.
Allegedly hung with his staff.
The cope on Trump.
That we know almost 100 children thus far have died from something like measles. He doesn't want you to focus on the things that truly matter to the American people that are trying to survive now. And
especially when it involves a known pedophile who trafficked underage girls.
Every one of those 28 questions got a flow of nonsensical gibberish from Donald Trump that included lies. And so the White House press corps is failing before our eyes. Every chance they get to question Donald Trump, every time they fail to pursue the only president in history who had a best friend for 10 years who was raping children nearly every day of those 10 years. Donald Trump.
Kala Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakah Chodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace salutation to the Akam known as work in truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth. All right. And I'm just doing this lesson, all right, just off the breaking news, all right, that came out today, as I was leaving work. I just looked through the YouTube, all right, and I seen that they presenting this picture supposedly, because we know that, a part of this title, is going to be Babylon is a big old, sitcom, man, and a big drama, that ultimately, it's the Most High that's steering this thing, all right, steering Babylon into its demise, all right. But we know that all these people we see on TV, all right, and then the news media, okay, they're all a bunch of puppets, man. All these politicians, all right, the governor, okay, the presidents, all right, they are all actors, all right, playing their damn role, man. So, we gotta just be circumspect, and stick to the prophecies, man. Okay? We ain't gotta be all trendy and shit and be like Alex Jones and all these other guys that always got something here, something there. If you stick to the prophecies, all right, and what's ordained to happen, all right, through the Spirit, okay, you can't go wrong. You can't be confused. You can't be lost while you in this kingdom, man. Okay, so whether Donald T, all right, is the one to bring this new world order or bring the MOTB, it don't matter. All right. Okay, we know that MOTB is going to be presented. All right, we know that Esau is going to bring it. All right, we know that Esau is going to try to establish his enterprise, as the scriptures say. His new world order. Okay, so this situation with Donald T, where they releasing this photo what he drew to Epstein, all right, which is creepy as hell, you know. And even if it's well, we know that Nero's into that shit. All them people are into that shit. All them politicians are into that shit. Okay, because if you watch all them videos in Congress, all right, where you got a few people, begging for the Epstein list to be released or some type of release of the list. You got dudes that's on Democratic and Republican side, that are saying no, we don't want to release the list, you know. And then after they say no, whoever's requesting it, they'll say, well, why? Why not? Why wouldn't you want to see who's on the list of a child, child trafficker, you know? And them politicians will be like, oh, well, I didn't come here for this, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. Don't give no valid reason to why you don't want to know what the hell has gone on, all right, with these politicians and this rich, all right, dude, all right, who is Epstein, man, who really didn't have no fucking job. He was supposedly a like a counselor, a financial counselor or whatever. So all these rich people, which all that really was a fucking cover. His primary job, man, was to get the children, man. Okay? And these devils are a bunch of liars. They keep sticking it to just women, and women and girls, man. It wasn't just women and girls, man. Okay, if this dude had an island and he is who they say he is, he had everything, man. Okay? He had it all, man, because we know how Esau get down. The scriptures say that they made a boy fun harlot. You think that changed? Even since Greece and Rome, Esau has always had um, a infatuation, all right, with young men. You know, this is a sickness that's in this devil, man. But that's being hidden. Even a picture. Even that picture, the body that's in the picture, it looked young. But not only that, I mean, it definitely looked like that's a chest. Because ain't no woman boobs, what I'm saying, rounded like that. It looked like a fucking a peck, you know, which that's even subliminal in itself. Because everybody's saying, it's a young girl, but hey, man, when you look at the shit, it very well, could be a young boy, man. And that's why it ain't got no arms. All right, because that pretty much that photo means, anything goes, you know. And for those in the know, they gonna know automatically, when they see that the righteous men that's on the right side, the elect men, and the wicked on the left, they gonna know. Oh yeah, yeah, we know what that's about, you know. And us being on the right, with our eyes open, we know what this devil be doing, man. You know. And now the world is seeing it, So something gonna come from this, They keep bringing it up, for a reason, man. They're gonna try to overthrow DT. Is he gonna um, try to set up a martial law? If he try to get overthrown, is he gonna start a war? What the hell is gonna happen? And if something do happen, who gonna be put in his place, man? It seems like Elon is the one that's making the run, because he's over that technocracy. All right, he created the brain chip. Okay, he's integral in this space force situation, you know. So they could use either one of these puppets, and then they made them to be in opposition. That shit can all be an act, man. That Elon and Donald T is at opposition, man. Come on, man. That could be a whole act, to stage this entire situation, man. And Elon Musk is dropping a whole bunch of shit, on Twitter, all right, about you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. And he shares the same sentiment that Donald T got, man. You know, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, you gotta go. You know, you gotta go, or you gotta be in prison, or you gotta be tortured, man. And all these Edomites feel the same way, all the way, you know, down to hell gates, man. Hell gates of hell. You know, he's opposed to you Jakes as well, man. Okay, all these higher up level Edomites are all opposed to you Jakes, man. As much as they push this liberal shit. All right, the scripture tell you about that damn liberal, man. A liberal is full of shit. Okay, it's all a damn illusion. All right, but what does that leave Babylon? All right, if the head is exposed, okay, if the president is exposed, you know, for being this and that, man. Okay, and then you got a financial collapse. All right down the road, man, right on the way. Hyperinflation, you know, right on the way, man. Okay, hey, that'll bring this nation to its knees. You know, that'll bring Babylon to its knees, man. You know, it'll be all out anarchy, man. You know, in these different situations. Okay, and these are exciting times, man. You know, you got a damn a world leader being accused of trafficking, man. You know, so America gonna be even more hated, you know, and seen as a hypocrite. It say Nahum chapter 3 and verse 5, Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness and the kingdoms thy shame. Okay? So the scriptures say, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, man. So the nations are seeing the nakedness of Babylon, man. They seeing the wickedness that they've done. They already been speaking out about the way Esau treats its Negro, Latinos, and Native American population. You know, all those other nations that are so-called third world, they always call that out. You know, but now people are seeing what you're really doing, man. You know, because that's more visual. Everybody can see the oppression, all right, that's been done. Just going through the books, going through the history books, but to see this abominable shit, you know, with these children, you know, that's not top layer information. You know, you got to dig deep, you know, to find those types of things. And then it's even worse now. You know, it's even worse trying to find all this information now, man, because I'm talking about Google and scrubbed all that shit. Back then, you could put anything and put Illuminati behind it, or NWO behind it, and then you'll have hella articles and hella videos on YouTube, you know, and that's all been scrubbed. Okay, but the Most High is still bringing it into the forefront. Hey, you Edomites are some sick people, man. You some sick puppies. All right, and you all hiding it, man. Even the fact that Diddy went to trial, you know, and they didn't have any evidence, all right, of any of this stuff, man. None of this child stuff came up. You know, that's what everybody was talking about. You know, going towards that trial, he did this and he did that. You know, which is that shit is true, man. But when they put it in the eyes of the court, none of that shit happened. You know, none of the things with youngins, none of that happened, man. And that's for a reason. You know, they weren't punishing Diddy for that. They was punishing Diddy for going against them. All right, going against the grain. All right, talking too much, being pompous. You know, if they really wanted to crush him, they would have really brought out that real information, man. Okay. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. You know, and that's what these devils do, man. Woe to them that devise iniquity, you know, and work evil upon their beds. All right, full of demons, you know, thinking how can I distract Jake? You know, how can I take what Jake got? You know, how can I keep bugging him out? How can I fight against the Most High and his chariots? You know, these are all the things that this devil thinks, man. All right, nothing but wickedness. okay, and how to further his wicked agenda, okay. But hey, also going into that, you know, the destruction of children, man. And then they got different alleys and different ways of doing it. Planned Parenthood is a significant part of it. You know, I'm telling you, man, those people that work at that spot, man, that Planned Parenthood, man, just look at some of the videos, man. Look at and listen to some of the shit that they get caught saying on hot mics, man. You know, listen to what they write. You know, some of the shit that they write, the articles they write and shit. Man, them some wicked people, man. Them some demonic ass people. You know, and they're really a bunch of damn witches. All right, when it come down to it. All right, hey, a job ain't just a job, man. You know, a lot of people just say, "Oh yeah, a job is a job." You know, yeah, if you're in a fucking warehouse, you know, yeah, if you maybe if you, even if you got to clean out some fucking like you might do sanitation, you know, but certain shit, a job ain't just a job, man. Like a dude that's an embalmer that embalms dead bodies. All right, or like a what's the original point? You know, oh yeah, like Planned Parenthood, man. That ain't a job. It's just a job, man. All right, a person that's an embalmer is always gonna be weird, man. There's always gonna be something weird about him. Who the hell wants to be around a bunch of dead bodies? You know? And the most I say, ain't supposed to be touching dead bodies, man. So imagine somebody that do that all day long for the rest of their fucking life, man. That person got some demons on them, man. You know? Same thing with a person that work in Planned Parenthood ripping a baby, you know, out of his mother's box because they want to go fucking have a hot girl summer, man. You know? But yeah, man, the Most High is exposing this place, man. All right, you damn six pack crackers. You don't know what the hell you doing. You don't know what the hell you believe in anymore. You know? Donald T is crushing your damn spirit, you know? And maybe that's what it's for. You know, it's intentional. You know, going into that left and right paradigm, you know. Esau trying to prove now the left ain't the right way, the right ain't the right way either, but I got a solution for you, you know, through this fucking technocracy, you know, through this technology, you know. But that's all I had. You know, I pray this lesson is edifying and shalom.